When 'tis the season, it's often the reason many throw dietary caution to the wind. But can we indulge in our favorite comfort foods guilt free and still keep the holidays healthy? Chef Heather Nace is the Director of Operations at the Goldring Center for Culinary Medicine at Tulane University. It is the first teaching kitchen within a medical school and a leader in the culinary medicine movement. Thanks so much for taking some time from the kitchen to join us on Newspoint 360, Chef.
Thank you for having me.
This diet culture that values weight above health and well being is anything but positive. As part of that school of medicine, how do you work with future physicians to better understand nutrition?
What's really cool about our program here at Tulane is that we know that historically many physicians were not really receiving much in the way of nutrition education. And so our program aims to solve that by not only giving them some basics of nutrition, but by doing it through hands-on cooking classes. So we're not talking about just lecturing students. We actually get them in the kitchen with their hands in the food so that they can hopefully not only be able to talk the talk, but be able to walk the walk with their patients as well. By having that personal experience of how you can plan for, shop, and prepare healthy meals on a budget, hopefully they'll be able to better communicate that with their patients.
Well, you say it's not practical or productive to be the food police at all, but it is a time of high fat, high sugar during the holidays. From a nutritional standpoint, are many of our time honored tabletop traditions a reason for concern?
Well, I think that during this time of year, it's very normal for us to want to reach for those comfort foods. Particularly this year, it's been a challenging year for everybody. And there are actually some real reasons why we choose the foods that we do when we're having times of stress or maybe feeling a little less happy than usual. I just think that it's not really super productive to beat yourself up about it. Just know that we're all human. This is a very normal thing for you to feel and a normal approach to take. And feeling a lot of guilt over your food choices is not going to help you be healthier. It's much better to sort of stop, take a step back and say, okay, so that happened. Let me move forward in a more productive manner and implement some little tips and tricks that you can do. And we're not talking about big sweeping changes. It's really also not productive to try to change your entire diet or lifestyle overnight. Oftentimes, this is why New Year's resolutions fail. We try to set ourselves up for a little bit too much all at once. And it's better if we take baby steps. And there are really some simple and easy ways we can do that within our diet, making small little changes, looking at how can we add to a recipe versus what foods we need to stop eating.
From stress eating to snacking out of boardroom, physicians are saying this has been the perfect storm for weight management struggles. This year, as you were saying, is very stressful. Many people won't be with their families, which is why we reach for those comfort foods. Do we know why we're inclined to reach for those in particular, why we have these cravings?
Yeah, so it's both a physiological issue as well as some deep roots in our human evolution. So, from a physiological standpoint, we know that comfort food actually does give us a little bit of a dopamine boost, and dopamine is that pleasure hormone. So it makes sense, you know that when you're feeling kind of bad and you go for the ice cream or you go for the mac and cheese, that maybe you get a little positive energy boost. So there's that aspect, as well as the fact that from an evolutionary standpoint, we were hardwired to, first of all, food was scarce. There was lots of stress going on. And back in, those days, we needed to be able to pack on some extra food during the times that it was available to us. The problem has become that now our food system has evolved greatly and our human evolution hasn't quite caught up. So now there's so much easy access to this really delicious food that is not nutrient dense. It's often very energy or calorie dense. So we're getting really high calories with not a lot of nutrition there. Think about all your classic junk foods, your highly processed foods, your fast foods. Those are great examples of food that are very delicious. They have a lot of flavor. They've been engineered to taste amazing and make you keep craving them, but they don't have a lot of nutritional value. And so we have so much easy access to that. And so it's easy to overindulge as well.
Well, you, as you said earlier, have some great recommendations for easy substitutes to make our favorite treats healthier. And that doesn't mean you have to lose the butter either.
Yes, exactly. So at the Goldring Center for Culinary Medicine, we know that restrictive diets don't work. They have been studied. There's a lot of scientific evidence that shows for a diet to be successful. And this is the thing that people don't want to hear, unfortunately. There's no magic bullet. There's no special quick fix for you to lose weight or improve your health overnight. At the end of the day, for a diet really to work and be effective, it's got to be sustainable. And we know that most of the time, sustainable diets are ones where we don't have to make grand sweeping changes. So yes, we're all about what can we add to foods, or what are those minor little tweaks that aren't going to really affect the end product to the point where it's not delicious anymore. Because at the end of the day, nobody wants to eat food if it's not delicious, myself included. So it's got to be delicious above all else. A great example of this is a recipe that we actually just were making last night with our medical students for a holiday event, and that is our pumpkin spice oatmeal cookies. What's cool about these cookies is that we are still eating a cookie. There's still sugar in there. There's still butter, but we use some chef tricks that we know from our culinary training to enhance the nutrition. So we know that we can reduce the sugar in any baking recipe by up to 25%, and we're not really going to lose the taste. So we don't need to rely on fake sugars, or, we can use some more natural sugar sources like fruits and things, but we can also just scale back the sugar in a recipe. We're not going to change the finished product too much. You'll still get the same texture and all of those things that you're looking for. Another great trick is for our cookies, for example, we only use 3 tablespoons of butter in the entire recipe that makes 18 cookies. Most cookies recipes call for like a half a stick or a stick of butter, maybe sometimes even 2 sticks of butter. And what we do is we use that pumpkin puree to act as a little bit of a fat replacer. It provides moisture. It does the same things that the butter is doing in the cookie. And we know we're getting some extra nutrients because pumpkin has some extra nutrients in it. Other great tips are, doing half whole wheat flour in a baked good. We can add oats. Oats are a great whole grain. You can even blend them in your blender to create an oat flour. There's a lot of great tricks. We have savory tricks too. Another great recipe that's one of my favorites, I love macaroni and cheese. We actually do a great macaroni and cheese where we add a little butternut squash. Again, it's a very seasonal kind of winter comfort dish, and butternut squash is a great seasonal winter vegetable. We can puree that up with some milk, and we still use the cheese. But if we're also thinking about the quality of the cheese, if we use a really good, highly flavored cheese, we can use some nice Parmesan cheese, a nice, good cheddar cheese. We don't have to use as much. We can still get the flavor. And the butternut squash puree really provides that nice, silky, creamy texture that you're looking for.
So nutritious can still be delicious. What about immune boosters? Are there ways through our diets that we can give our immune systems a bit of a helping hand?
Absolutely. I think the short answer to this is eat more plants. Fruits and vegetables are going to be our greatest sources of those nutrients that have been shown to improve your immune function. So I think something that maybe for people is the concept of vitamin C being a great immune booster, and it's true. But one thing that people don't realize is that we don't need to just do citrus fruits to get our vitamin C. There are some other great sources of vitamin C out there. Bell peppers are a really great source, as well as dark leafy greens and cruciferous vegetables like your broccoli, your cauliflower, which are also really great in the winter. Vitamin A is another great source of immune boosting nutrients, and those we're going to see in all of our orange foods. So, our sweet potato, our carrots, our butternut squash, again, the cantaloupe. But then there's also things like vitamin E is another good one, and we'll see that in things like almonds and peanuts and peanut butter, as well as vitamin D, which vitamin D you are used to seeing it the most really in your fortified grain and dairy foods. That's a really big source in this country. But we also see it in fatty fish. So things like salmon and tuna, and if you're into it, sardines are a great source as well.
Well, some great suggestions there, and many of them part of holiday table fare. When people dine, though, they often add the wine or other spirits. Apparently, alcohol consumption is up during this pandemic. Are there some better options when indulging, or is it just really everything in moderation?
I would say everything in moderation. Just to throw it out there for you, our carbohydrate foods and our protein foods each give you 4 calories per gram of food. Fats give you 9 calories per gram, and your alcohol gives you 7. So your alcohol is almost as calorically dense as your fat foods. So if you kind of keeping that in mind, you need to moderate your alcohol intake, the same way you'd probably moderate your fat intake. And yes, we are all probably indulging a little bit more in everything this year. I can speak for myself. I'm doing it as well. I have done it, and it is something that we all struggle with as humans. But I do think that it doesn't mean that you can't have these things. It's just thinking about how can we moderate and how can we create a more balanced lifestyle for ourselves. So if we are having our wine with our dinner, are we having a healthy meal? Are we incorporating more of those fruits and vegetables and whole grains and nuts and seeds? At the Goldring Center for Culinary Medicine, our whole way of eating is based around the Mediterranean diet. And for those that are not really familiar with the Mediterranean diet, it's super simple. It's really just about how do we increase things like our vegetables, fruits, whole grains, nuts, seeds. We eat more fish. We eat less red meat. We definitely are allowed, though, to have that occasional wine with our dinner or beer. Again, it's all about that moderation. And I think, too, if you are someone that's really concerned about it, there are so many great ideas out there nowadays for things, they call them mocktails, these fun kind of festive drinks that you can make to still maybe enjoy in that vibe of the holidays, but without the alcohol component.
Great suggestions. Many people are spending much more time indoors, and it's said that sitting is the new smoking. It's terrible. What diet and lifestyle modifications do you suggest to help keep us healthy or even help improve our health during this really difficult time?
Yeah, so I would just like to say that you should keep in mind that all movement counts. So if you're really struggling with a sedentary lifestyle, and again, this is one of those times where it may not be the most ideal for you to try to make some grand sweeping change to your exercise routine. Maybe start by thinking about it in baby steps. So, how can you just increase your physical activity a little bit? It's the same old cliches that we've heard forever. Things like parking a little bit farther away when you go to the grocery store, trying to take the stairs whenever possible. Just taking a walk when you can, or even maybe if you have a job where you're working from home, you're on Zoom all day, scheduling yourself to go take a walk during your lunch break or get up and do some movement. And it can be very simple things. You can do very simple body weight exercises with no equipment whatsoever, things as simple as like a wall push-up, or you can do some little lunges, or chair dips using your office chair or a kitchen table chair. And I think it's important to think about varying your routine if possible. Ideally for health, we want to get a little bit of cardio, get our heart rate moving. We definitely do need to keep in mind that resistance training or any type of weight or body weight exercise is important, and particularly as we age, because we're losing muscle mass. So we need to keep that up, as well as flexibility. So if you like things like yoga, stretching is important. So trying to mix up your routine as much as you can, and really just keeping in mind that you don't need to set aside an hour to exercise every day. You can do it in an incremental way. So maybe you get up and moving 10 minutes a day, 3 times a day, and you've done 30 minutes. I also would like to say that I think it's important that people think about reframing the way they think of exercise, particularly if they're exercise averse, which I will admit I am. We don't want to think about exercise as a punishment for our indulgent eating. I don't think that's really productive. It's not going to feel enjoyable if you're viewing it as something you have to do because you ate too many cookies. I think that if you can try to mentally frame it for yourself and focus on the positive benefits that you're going to get from exercise, you're probably setting yourself up for success a little bit better. I like to think about the fact that I know if I exercise and get myself moving, I'm going to have better sleep. I'm also just going to have more energy throughout the day. And in fact, I'm going to be less stressed. We know that exercise really does impact our stress level. So it may be feeling really easy right now to just lay around and have that kind of sedentary lifestyle because of the way we're feeling. But if we can get ourselves up and moving a little bit more, it will help us in the long run.
Well, it sounds like with a little planning, a few modifications, and a dash of determination, we can enjoy the foods we've grown to love guilt-free. Chef Nays, thank you for sharing your recipe for a healthy holiday season. We really appreciate your time today.
Thank you so much.